I almost threw it away. A crumpled, faded piece of paper sitting at the bottom of my jacket pocket. Most people would have tossed it without a second thought, but something made me stop. And what I found written on that receipt turned my entire world upside down. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 34 years old. I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in Cincinnati, Ohio. Steady job, quiet life. The kind of man nobody really notices, and I always preferred it that way. But let me take you back to where this story really begins. I grew up without much. My father passed when I was 9 years old. Sudden heart attack. There one morning, gone by afternoon. I remember standing in our small kitchen watching my mother's hands shake as she held the phone. I didn't fully understand death at 9, but I understood that something enormous had just been taken from us, and it was never coming back. After that, life got harder. My mother worked 2 jobs. We moved apartments twice in 3 years. There were months, I only understood this later as an adult, where I have no idea how she kept the lights on and food on the table. But somehow she did. And somehow I made it through. High school, a state college on partial scholarship, a logistics job that slowly, steadily, built into a real career. I always told myself, I did it through hard work, through discipline, through keeping my head down and pushing forward. I believed that story completely. Until a Tuesday in October changed everything. It was the kind of ordinary Tuesday that you forget by Wednesday. I was cleaning out my winter jacket, hadn't worn it since the previous February, getting ready for the cold months coming in. I reached into the left pocket and pulled out a crumpled receipt. I almost threw it in the trash without even looking at it. But something made me glance down. Gas station, Route 32. The date on it was November 14th of last year, 11 months ago. And the total at the bottom, $847. I stood completely still in my kitchen. You don't spend $847 at a gas station, not unless you're filling up a fleet of vehicles. I drive a Honda Civic. My tank costs me $45 on a bad day. I turned the receipt over slowly, looking for an explanation. And at the bottom, in the small printed section where stores sometimes add loyalty numbers or membership codes, there was a name. Not my name. Marcus. I set the receipt down on the counter, stepped back, stared at it like it might move. I have never known anyone named Marcus. Not a coworker, not a neighbor, not a childhood friend. The name meant nothing to me, but there it was, printed clearly, on a receipt that came out of my own jacket pocket. I told myself to stay calm. There had to be a rational explanation. Maybe I'd grabbed the wrong jacket somewhere. A restaurant, a waiting room. These things happen. But then I looked at the sleeve. On the right sleeve of that jacket, there's a small burn mark. 2 summers ago, I was helping my Uncle Clarence move a gas grill and a spark caught the fabric for half a second. I remember the smell. I remember laughing it off. That mark has been on that jacket for 2 years. This was my jacket, without question. So, how did a receipt for $847, with a stranger's name on it, end up inside my pocket? My mind wouldn't let it go. That night, I barely ate. I sat at my kitchen table with the receipt in front of me under the lamp, examining it like a detective with a piece of evidence. That's when I noticed something I'd completely missed before. On the back of the receipt, written in pencil, so faint I almost needed to hold it up to the light, were 3 letters. RMB. Not my initials. My initials are DMR, Daniel Matthew Reeves. But the handwriting. I stared at those 3 letters for a long time. It looked like my handwriting. Not exactly, but close enough that something in my stomach dropped 3 floors. I couldn't sleep. I lay in the dark at 1 a.m. and decided to check my phone calendar. I use it religiously. Work meetings, car maintenance, doctor appointments. If something happened on November 14th, there might be a trace. I opened the app and scrolled to November 14th. There was one calendar entry. Airport, 7 a.m., Gate B12. I sat up straight in bed. I have not flown anywhere in 3 years. I have no memory of going to an airport last November. None. 0. With shaking fingers, I opened the entry to see if there were notes attached. There were exactly 4 words. Don't forget, he knows. The room felt like it shrank. He knows. He knows what? Who is he? And who wrote this inside my own calendar? I checked the timestamp. The entry was created on November 13th at 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes before midnight. Someone had been on my phone late at night. Or, and this thought was worse, I had been on my own phone, writing notes to myself that I had absolutely no memory of. I got up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, stood at the window looking at the dark street below, and made a decision. Tomorrow, I was going to that gas station. I called in sick to work the next morning, first time in over 2 years. I drove to the station on Route 32, a small place, convenience store attached, the kind of spot where the same staff works for years and they recognize regular customers. I walked in and asked for the manager. Her name was Patricia, mid-50s, reading glasses on a chain, sharp eyes that didn't miss much. I placed the receipt on the counter and explained I'd found it in my jacket and was trying to understand the purchase. She picked it up, studied it, and then she looked at me over the top of her glasses. "I remember this transaction," she said. My throat tightened. Someone bought a prepaid Visa card, $800 plus the processing fee. We log those separately from regular purchases. She pointed to a small code in the corner of the receipt, one I hadn't noticed. "That's our prepaid card record number." "Can you tell me who bought it?" I asked. She looked at me for a long moment,